Welcome back to the Overshare Hour. We are your hosts, Mackenzie and Jubilee.
Your certified, unofficial, emotional support humans here to read the things that you're probably only brave enough to text your therapist.
Every week, we'll dive into the messy, hilarious, complicated, and very human parts of life, from relationships and healing to friendship, chaos, and yes, a lot of oversharing.
Whether you're spiraling, thriving, or somewhere in between, you're safe here. So grab your favorite drink, cancel your plans, and settle in, because we're about to overshare like it's our job. Because, spoiler alert, it kind of is.
Let's get into it.
All right, Kenzie, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I miss you. I feel like it's been a minute. Yeah, I'm excited to hang out with you tomorrow in real life and real people time, not just over.
Which doesn't happen as often as we would like. But
I know. I feel like when you're sister friends, you're just like, and we'll be there for each other forever, and we're getting through life, and that's how it is.
We are one text away, but
exactly.
We are actually going to the river tomorrow. I'm nervous because I'm an anxious little bird and I'm scared of tubing, but
okay,
my husband really wants to go.
Tell me what you're afraid of, because I know that you're afraid of it, but we've never talked about it. So what are you scared of?
Specifically drowning, just because my parents drilled it into me that tubing was so dangerous and that my dad almost witnessed someone drown when he was in college. So they really instilled this fear in me. But yeah. I know you're saying that this one is pretty chill as long as you don't go the wrong route.
Yes. So just avoid the rapids. I think that's really the biggest thing is if there are rapids, then yes, but there's some places you can go and you're just chilling. And that's what we're going to do. It's going to be great.
Yeah. The thing is, Brandon is so adventurous and he thinks he's invincible. So I feel a little scared doing stuff with him because I'm always afraid he's going to, I don't know, he jumped in with a swing rope at a river once. And I was like, what if the rope snaps? Guys, I am the most I don't want to say unfun. That is how I feel.
No,
but
you're so fun.
Thank you. I'm a nervous gal.
Hey, I did a rope swing when I was a kid. I used to do rope swings all the time, but one time I did a rope swing and I hung too low at the bottom of the rope swing and just scraped my entire backside, all down these rocks, and legitimately skinned my entire backside. I was probably 10 or 11. Yeah.
See, that stuff happens.
And now I never want to do it again. That scarred me. I have done it since, but it's I used to be the same. I mean, I was a kid, but I was you don't know that you can get hurt doing something until you do it and you get hurt. And so I was this is great. And then I got hurt. And now I'm I don't really want to do a rope swing ever again in my life.
Thank you.
No,
not my thing.
Yeah.
But you will steer us on the right course, I'm sure.
I promise. I promise we will be safe.
Good.
Yeah. But I'm excited to talk to you today and to do our submissions. We have some good ones today.
I know. You guys came through. Before we get started, just a reminder that we are not therapists. We are just two people sharing our thoughts, opinions, and overshares. This is not professional advice, but we do hope that it helps you feel a little less alone.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to read the first one, Kenz?
I do. Yes. Okay. So our first one says, I've been married for 4 years and I love my husband, but I've developed a weirdly intense crush on a barista at my favorite coffee shop. He's funny, charming, and probably 10 years younger than me. I haven't acted on it, obviously, but I'm find myself dressing cuter when I go in. Is this normal, or is it a sign that something's missing in my marriage? What do you think, Jubilee?
I think that this isn't a big deal and is a big deal. This is so human. This is how I feel, that this is the most human submission. And I don't think that you need to feel guilty or a bad person for feeling these sorts of feelings, because I think that that is just natural. I think that just because you are seeing him and you feel a little butterflies in your stomach or something like that, it doesn't make you bad or necessarily say that there's something horribly wrong with your relationship. What I would say, but this is coming from somebody who, I was really raised evangelical. I was raised to avoid temptation at all costs and to protect your marriage. And I think that there's still something to that. So not in the purity culture type of way,
right,
but in the protecting your marriage and your connection. I personally would not go to this coffee shop anymore. That is what I would do, because it's not worth the guilt that you're going to feel being there. And also, Yeah, I just don't think it's worth you thinking about it and stressing about it. And I'm sure you're on the verge of convincing yourself that this, like, do I really have feelings for this guy? I think that it's normal to have little crushes, and it doesn't have to be some big thing. You can think that somebody is attractive, and it doesn't necessarily mean that your marriage is falling apart or on
Doomed
the
forever.
rocks.
Yeah.
What I would say is what about him is appealing to you, or what about the dynamic is appealing to you, and maybe see if you can bring some of that fun into your marriage. So, I mean, people, oh my gosh, people, they'll go role play and they'll go pretend I'm a stranger at a bar. Like
Yeah.
if you and your husband are fun, why don't you go do something like that? I think it's normal to feel like, oh my gosh, I had so much butterflies in the very, very beginning. And I know that once you get married, you still have those butterflies at times, but it's not as, oh my gosh, the brain chemistry, it's overwhelming. I can't think about anything else as the first few months, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your
No.
marriage or your relationship, because also in the first few months, you're not getting that same level of emotional love that you have now.
So
Like
true.
I feel so much strongly and deeper for my husband now, things that I never experienced when we were first together. So it's just different. And I think like allowing yourself to step back and just kind of realize this is a very human thing, but I personally would avoid this coffee shop going forward.
Like going to the coffee shop. Yeah. So I have like multiple layers to this because I think that having a crush on someone and something being missing in your marriage are like two different parts to this question, because just because you have a little crush on someone, no, that doesn't automatically mean that there is that is a sign. This person asked, is this a sign that there is something wrong in my marriage? No, that is not necessarily a sign. And I'm trying to come at this completely honest, like just this is my own vulnerability. I am trying to come at this question from a very balanced place and not my trauma brain, because I also grew up evangelical and I have a lot of those values and moral values instilled in me. Also, I have a part of myself that has not fully worked through. I guess maybe there's a trust aspect because I've been cheated on. And so I feel sensitive to any kind of idea that my partner personally might have a crush or like find someone attractive. So I'm trying to come at this from a really balanced perspective and not from my own worldview and my own personal relationship. And I can get into that a little bit. But I do not think that you having this initial crush means that there is anything wrong with your relationship. I don't think that. Do I wonder about what might be going on under the surface that's causing you to feel this way, continue to go to the coffee shop, and then now is kind of leading you to this place of wondering if it's a sign that there's something wrong or missing in your marriage? Here's my question around that. Are you feeling like there's something wrong in your marriage and that is what's leading you to kind of continue to go back to this coffee shop because you want to explore that further? Is there something in you that's kind of maybe like, yeah, we haven't done anything yet, but I do find myself kind of going back every day and I want to see this person more? Are those feelings growing to kind of outside of those moments? Are you thinking about this person when you're not there? Are you comparing this person to your partner? I mean, there are other questions to ask yourself, I think, in order to determine how you are actually feeling and like where these emotions or the level of this connection is landing. Because if it's truly just you go in and you're like, oh, that person's cute and haha, so cute. No, there's not anything wrong with your marriage. I too think avoid it at all costs. Don't put yourself in the light of fire to protect your marriage. I 100% believe that. And not, again, also not from a purity culture perspective or standpoint. But I would say if you love your husband and the way that you say you do, I think that this person said, I love my husband, right? Yes, I love my husband. Then avoid the crush and like try putting that energy back into your husband. Like Juby was saying, do the fun sex stuff and like try new things. And I know that I think that the human part of it is because our brains are wired to like have that initial connection and be kind of almost addicted to that feeling of the butterflies and stuff, that if that happens with someone out in the world, it can be jarring and scary because it's not your person that it's happening with. And I do agree that ask yourself, would you even want to go back to that because you've gone so far and have gotten to such a deeper place emotionally with your partner now. Like Jubilee was saying, that's how I feel in my relationship. Like the depth of the connection and the intimacy and the love and the care and the commitment and the friendship and all of the things that come with your relationship over a longer period of time. Is it worth it to let that go for those fleeting emotions that don't last a long time? And for me, the answer is no. I would never want to go back to the beginning of my relationship with my fiance, because I wouldn't trade what we have now for that type of like fun, like fiery feeling. What we have now is so beautiful. So is it normal for your body to have like hormones and experience that and find attraction? Yeah. And that doesn't mean that there's something wrong in your marriage. But I would say if you do continue to go back to this coffee shop, ask yourself, how would I feel if this was my husband? How would I feel if my husband was doing this? And maybe make your decisions on how you're going to go about this situation through the lens of if it wasn't you and it was him, and what you would want him to do and how you would want him to act or behave, or the choices he would want to make in the like honoring of y'all's relationship, and do that thing. Do the thing that you would want him to do for you if the roles were reversed.
Yeah, that's so good.
Right?
That's good. Yeah.
That's what I would want. I would be like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
How would
if
you
he
feel?
had a favorite barista and he was going there,
Yeah.
how would you feel about that?
Yeah.
So
It would be hurtful for me if I found that my partner was continuing to go see this person.
yeah. And I think I had a situation, I just remembered a story from my first marriage with the lovely Ted. Just kidding. Horrible person. But anyway.
The one and only.
The one and only Disney man. So I mean, when I was married to him, I remember there was somebody that I had met on set that we were always paired together. I'll call him Ryan. Okay. We were always paired together because we were around the same age, we were around the same height, and they always paired us together to be background extras in a couple. And I just saw him all the time for months and months and months. And then there was one time where we had to, I think we were on The Walking Dead. Maybe it was The Walking Dead together. And he ended up sitting on my lap on this school bus. And I remember I got like butterflies and I literally shoved this man off of me. And I was like, don't do that. Like, get off of me. Right. And I didn't have feelings for him. Like, I knew him well. I knew I would never date him. I wasn't even that attracted to him. He was just kind of like a guy. I think, I've heard people say it's kind of like when you go on a plane and somebody around your same age is sitting next to you. There's like this random sexual tension just because you're like in close proximity.
Are we in love?
Are you vibing this right now? And it's really how I felt with this guy, Ryan, where I was like, I would never date him. I'm not into anything he's into. He was like such a gamer and that's not really like my thing. But I remembered feeling so guilty. It ate me alive, despite the fact that I knew I didn't have feelings for him. But I was like, oh my gosh, those butterflies, I feel terrible. But I do think that some of that is just natural and it happens and you don't necessarily have to read too much into it, but I would avoid it. I definitely put up firmer boundaries with Ryan after that because I was like, oh, that felt like a little flirtatious. So I think just knowing when to draw the line. And like Kenzie was saying, think about how would you hope that your husband would handle a situation like this?
Also, every relationship is different. I genuinely have friends where they talk openly about their crushes and they're married and they talk about it with their partners and they're like, this is great. Like, I have a massive crush on this friend that we both have. And like they see him all the time and they're like, oh my gosh, I have such a crush on this person. And that works for them. I could never. And so I could never. That's why I think this is such like I feel like we always say this. It's personal. It's what you feel, right? But at the end of the day, it truly is because you're the one who knows your relationship. And so you're the one who knows how your dynamic in your relationship works and how you guys feel about this. Maybe y'all have talked about things like this before. I know me and my fiance have. It's like we talk about things like this. We talk about, if you ever have a crush on someone, do I want you to tell me? Do I want you to not tell me and just trust that you're going to honor our relationship? And this legitimate situation, if you were to ever go to a coffee shop and you end up having that moment with someone, are you going to tell me about that? Or do you just not tell me and kind of just avoid the coffee shop? We have conversations very similar to this scenario to kind of see how would we be, what would we do, what are our boundaries, what do we want to share with each other, what do we want to just trust each other with, as to kind of, not make something a big deal that doesn't need to be. And then when does that line cross and we do need to talk about it? And then some people are like, yeah, they're hot. And they're like saying it to their husband and they're like, you know what, they are kind of hot. And it's just different. Everyone's different. And so I think that your relationship better, obviously, than we will ever know your relationship. And that's why I think do what you would say you would want your husband to do for you.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. All right. Are we ready to move on to the next one? Okay. Yeah. I want to know what you think about this one because I don't know what my advice is. 2 of my friends had a relationship. They broke up around 3 years ago and they decided to stay friends. One of them had no remaining feelings and the other one still does. And every now and again, they try to contact them just for it to blow up immediately after due to her remaining feelings. She swears that this is not true, but it is tangible. I believe she has to let it go, but she doesn't want to see reason and always gets defensive. What should I do?
Okay. This sucks because they're both your friends. So it's like, it's harder to say, just stay out of it and like let her do whatever she's going to do, because they both mean something to you and the dynamic is probably directly affecting you on both ends because you're their friend. Do I still think you need to stay out of it? Yes. I actually personally think that there is nothing that you can do to stop this friend that you have from playing this game that I don't think they know they're playing. I truly don't think that I think this person is probably caught up in the emotion of whatever she or he is feeling for the other friend and does not realize what they are truly doing. And hindsight is 2020. They will probably one day look back on this situation and be like, oh shit, like I was really doing that. I was really self-sabotaging and, putting myself and the other person through this thing. And I just don't think that they're able to see that right now because of the emotions. And there's nothing you can do about that. And that's just what sucks for you as their friend. So all you can do, I think, is put up the boundaries that you need for yourself to feel safe in both friendships. If you need to tell this friend, hey, I love you and I want to stay friends with you and I want our friendship to continue, in order for me to feel good about that, I'm going to take a step back from all conversations that have to do with this other friend. That's okay for you to do that. Like, you get to decide what boundaries look like for you, and then it's up to them to honor those boundaries or decide if they can work with them. And then at the end of the day, we can't control people. There is nothing you can do. If this person is really in it like that and is going on the roller coaster with this other friend, there's nothing you can do. And it's also up to that other friend to decide if they want to continue, the one that doesn't have the feelings. Eventually they might get tired of it and cut that, cord of that friendship. And you're just caught in the crossfire of it. And that really, really sucks because it has to hurt. It has to be awkward. You have to be feeling, or I would be feeling like, I don't want to lose either of these people. And you're like juggling them, probably wondering if one of them is eventually going to not be in your life anymore. What's going to happen? There are probably all of these elements out of your control. And you're like, I don't want to lose these people. And unfortunately, there is nothing you can do. You can just set your boundaries, take care of yourself, and then show up in support of these friends in ways that feel good to you, and the rest is up to them. And that's just how I feel about it. What do you think?
I think you said everything. I agree with everything that you said. I think it's fine to say your piece once, to say, this is what I would do if I were you, if you think it's healthy for them to stop this cycle of reaching out because it's obviously not working. It obviously always ends up in this blow up. And it sounds like you've probably said this multiple times. So at this point, I would say putting up boundaries, taking a healthy step back, and just saying, if you feel like you can't continue to hear about this all the time, put up some boundaries just for your own mental health. And I think the hardest thing to realize growing up, or one of the hardest things, is that we cannot fix our friends' relationships or things that are going on as much as we would like to be able to give advice and just hope that our friends listen to us and do what we say, all the time. It's not realistic. And Ken's and I went through that with Crystal, our older friend. And there were so many times where we were giving advice and we were stressed about this. We were on phone calls.
Just together, just the two of us.
Yes. But which was fine because she had confided in both of us. So we both knew this information. But we were on the phone stressing about this relationship and this marriage. And oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And, we were so wrapped up in this. It felt like it was my own life. And
same.
It was not my life, but it was causing me a lot of stress, and we could not get her to see reason. And to this day, she will not see reason. There's just, at some point, you have to realize that you can't control what your friends do. They're going to do what they want to do. The best you can do is just say, I love you. This is what I think, which it sounds like you have. And then you just got to let them. That's great. That goes into Mel Robbins. Let them. We love that book. Just let them, because it's not, what is that? What's that phrase? Not your circus. You know which I'm saying?
No, actually.
I forgot. It's not your circus to handle. This is not the drama of your life. So just try your best to not get so emotionally wrapped up in it, which is obviously very hard when you're hearing about it all the time. So just going back to the boundaries. But I think, Kenzie, you killed that one. So good advice.
Well, thanks. But I'm also let them, if people don't know, and we're not going to go into the whole book, but you could read the book or listen to the podcast. There are episodes that she does on it as well. But basically it's the let them theory of letting people do whatever they're going to do. And then she says, let them and let me. And then the let me part of that is, what do I need to do to feel good and safe with myself? What boundaries do I need to set? What actions can I take? Because all we can do is control ourselves in every scenario. And so that's kind of what we are saying to this is let them. And then what are you going to do? How do you want to move through this to protect yourself and be as happy as you can be? Because you are in a shitty situation and we love you. And this is also, talk about human. This is such a human experience. So many people go through this in friendships. We have many times, and even together, Jubilee is giving me advice on relationships and I haven't taken it. And, it's just life. So we wish you the best and take care of yourself, my friend.
Yes. Give us an update. Let us know what you decide to do.
Okay. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. This one. Okay. I snooped on my boyfriend's phone. I know I shouldn't have, but I found out he's still in contact with his ex. The messages weren't romantic, but he never told me they were talking, and that part really stings. It makes me feel like there's a level of secrecy I didn't know about. I'm trying to figure out if I'm overreacting or if I have a right to be upset. Am I wrong for feeling this way? Juby?
You are not wrong for feeling this way.
No.
At all. I think I would love to know what conversations you guys have had in the past about exes. Is this something that definitely should have come up? Is this something that you guys have talked about? How you feel about remaining in contact with exes, or even just the opposite sex? Because in some relationships, they don't even really want you texting people of the opposite sex unless they know, you don't want to do anything necessarily secretive, but it's good that it's not romantic. Okay. Well, at least it's not romantic. And I think that it really depends on the relationship. Some people are okay with that. Some people are talk to your ex as long as it's not romantic, whatever. And they're really chill. That's hard. Okay. I don't know that I could do that. Brandon and I, we're very open about our exes, which I love. So we fully respect that we had lives before each other. And we actually talk positively about our exes. He had a good first love. I had a good first love. And we talk about those things openly. And there's no shame and there's no awkwardness. We don't have to act like we hated everybody we've ever been with before each other. But would I want him texting them? No, I would not.
No.
And even when I've never shared this before, vulnerability moment. So when Brandon
even with me?
No, you were probably there as I was trying to
Okay.
figure out how I felt.
Okay.
When we first got together, he was still in a band with his ex, and I was so uncomfortable. Guys, I was not the chillest, okay? Because it had not been that long since they had been together, and I was like, it feels horrible because it feels like you're giving them an ultimatum, but I was like, I'm uncomfortable. I tried to phrase he was jokes about it because he's like, that kind of was it feels like an ultimatum. But I was like, no, you can do that, but like I also cannot handle that. Like
Yeah.
I can't. I'm sorry. It would drive me insane. I wouldn't feel comfortable. So that's not personally something that I could handle, especially if it was often. I think that maybe if your ex sends a happy birthday on your Facebook profile, that's a different thing than
Yeah.
actively talking to someone all the time and still having a ongoing relationship of some
Yeah.
sort. No, you're not crazy. That would upset me. I think it is a little sketchy that he didn't tell you because he probably knew how you would feel about it. And to me, that's where that's not okay. Is
Yeah.
if you're doing something that you know that your partner would be upset about and you're actively hiding it, we've crossed some boundaries and some
Yeah.
lines. So I think you have every right to feel hurt and to have a conversation with him. And I think really try to see how he takes it. I think it would be a very big red flag if he tries to make you feel like you're crazy or like this is like no big deal. And I think if he does listen to you and he understands and all of that, then that's one thing. But yeah, what do you think about that, Kens?
I feel like I should have been taking notes to like remember all of the things that I wanted to say because I was just listening to you and I was like, I have so many thoughts. First, okay, before we get into these other parts of this, can you talk about or can we talk about snooping through a partner's phone? I'll preface this. Do I think we should be snooping through our partner's phones? Absolutely not. Did I do it? And that is how I found out that my ex was cheating on me with like 10 people. Yes. Am I so grateful that I made that choice so that I could find out and leave and exit that relationship? Absolutely. Is that something that I practice, that I continue and like cling to as a value in my current relationship? No, I think it's our partners deserve privacy. However, I am so grateful that I did it that time, so I don't know how I feel.
I personally don't know how I feel either because the way it's set up in Brand and I's relationship is we just have like open phone policies in a way. Like if he wanted to go through my phone, he could, and that makes me feel safe. And if I wanted to go through his phone, I could. That's just what works for us, but I like never do.
Yeah.
Because we have that open phone policy, I'm like, like
Yeah.
so I don't know. I know a lot of people think it's a huge, huge invasion of privacy, and I totally hear that. I totally hear that. But then I also hear all of these horror stories of people saying the one time I just had a gut feeling, I went through my husband's phone. Turns out, which we have friends who had experiences like that where they went through their husband's phones, they found all of these explicit photos, and they discovered affairs. So I think it's hard for me to say 100% of the time I feel a certain way because I don't know. I don't know. In theory, we would hope that our partners are honest and that we wouldn't have to do those things, but also people are sometimes saved by that.
Yeah, they are saved. I think a big part of it too is like, why are you doing it? Why do you feel like you need to do it? What is pushing you to make the choice to snoop? Because if it really is that like gut intuition feeling like something's off and then you do it and you find out you were right, kudos, like good job. Did you followed your gut and you found out that you were being cheated on? Like get out of the relationship or do whatever you got to do. However, if you have this amazing, really safe, connected, open relationship and y'all are communicative and everything's good and you're just like me in the past and there's literally no red flags whatsoever and I'm just like, I'm scared all the time. There's probably something that you could work through within yourself to not feel like you always have to go through your partner's phone, right? If there's no signs that something is wrong. So that's kind of a tangent, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's always wrong. However, if it's running your life and all you can ever think about is looking through your partner's phone, then like probably something to look at within ourselves.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people, they find stuff all the time. My fiance is like, you can go through my phone. Like there's nothing, we also have an open phone policy. There's no, not that we do. I feel like I would need to tell him like, hey, I'm looking at your phone just because it just feels like I need to, but not because we don't have that open phone policy. We know each other's passwords. Like, we can get into each other's phones. We can use them whenever we want. There's no weirdness there. But yeah, that's a huge topic. People say, I mean, I just want to talk about it as a tangent and a side note because people have different opinions on what's okay when it comes to stuff like that. But I think it's important that another reason I want to bring this up is because if you are to bring this up to your husband and he makes it about how you broke his trust by going through his phone, that is a red flag. And I'm saying that because that is what happened in my relationship when I found out I was being cheated on. They said to me, what we both did is equally as bad.
Oh my gosh. Holy moly, gaslight. I can't. That's insanity.
Yeah, I cheated on you with like 10 people, but also you didn't trust me enough and you went through my phone. So like same.
Absolutely not same. That is so insane. I can't even.
Yeah. So I had to talk about it because I was like, wait, what if he is like, oh, you went through my phone, like you're a terrible person. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I am a terrible person. Because already you're thinking like, I know I shouldn't have done this. Like I snooped, I feel bad.
That's how I feel, especially when they're hiding things. So
yeah. That aside, I would not be okay with my fiance texting his exes ever.
You're so funny.
But here's a story. When I met, just kind of like you, Juby, I have also not talked about this, but I mean, I think you know this. But when I met Luca, my fiance, he was living with his ex. Did you know this?
I did not know that.
But they were friends. So they had broken up, been friends for like a year or something. And then they got a house together because they worked together with like a roommate. And so they all were like had a roommate situation. And maybe a week or so, 2 weeks into talking to Luca, he told me this. He's like, hey, just so you know, like I feel like I should probably let you know this since things are getting kind of serious and you're already in love with me, that I live with my ex. And he didn't say that. I'm joking. I was in love with him, but he didn't say that. But he was like, I live with my ex. This is the situation. We're best friends. And he was like, I really hope that this is something that we can move forward with our relationship and that you'll be comfortable because she and I are really close and like we have remained friends after. I wasn't okay with it. And I had to really be like, give me a second to think about this because while I appreciate you telling me and I know that you're being honest and you're saying like you guys have this friendship, you've had a platonic relationship for all these months and I want to honor and respect like I'm a new person coming in. I don't want to be like, no, you can't have these friendships, but it does make me feel uncomfortable and that might just mean that I'm not the person. If that's the case, like I might just not be at a place where I can date someone who is best friends with their ex. That just might be my own shit that I have to deal with. And that doesn't mean you're bad or I'm bad, but like I just might not be there. Well, their relationship ended up dissolving, like regardless, because of just like actual friendship issues. Like it was just a whole thing. So we didn't even have to deal with it. Like the friendship ended like within a few weeks after that. But he moved and all of this stuff. So anyway, all that said, I would not have been okay with that. I could not have stayed in that relationship with him if he had continued to live with his ex, even though they had been platonic for so long. And that was just my own thing. And I've wrestled with that. I'm like, maybe some people could do that, but I'm just not one of them. So it is okay for you to not feel comfortable with this. And I would definitely ask, and really, really ask your husband, right?
I think boyfriend.
Really ask your boyfriend what the reason is that he felt like he couldn't tell you and what the nature of the relationship is if it's not romantic and why that connection to that person is important to him if he's really wanting that friendship and why he felt like he couldn't tell you about it and then see his response and go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's rough. I don't think that you have to like be on bad terms with your exes. Like, for example, I had my high school sweetheart or whatever. I've had remained friends with him on Facebook and, yeah, that's like the extent. Happy birthday. You know what I mean? And
totally.
My sisters, they always joke. This is a little bit of lore. They always joke with me that I end all of my stories with, and we're still friends. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I went through this crazy thing when I was at Bethel and we're still friends. Or like I had a friend who, you were here for this, Kenzie. I had a friend who lied about knowing the Jonas Brothers and I got catfished.
Baby, not only was I here for it, but I was in it with you. Like, oh my gosh, Jonas Brothers love story. Like I'm in it. as a kid with you.
Yeah, I thought that maybe I had a shot with Joe, which
I
was
did too.
really, he was sending me emails and her mom lied to me for her. So we had a lot of evidence that kind of leaded towards maybe because she had been from New Jersey, which is where his family's church was. So there was a lot that was, our entire family used to sit around and be like, is she lying? For hours, we would just go in circles, and even the adults in our family weren't sure.
Yes.
They thought maybe it was true. And yeah, but she ended up lying and we're still friends.
It was her. Spoiler alert, it was her the whole time.
Yeah, she was catfishing me. It's all good and we're still friends. And she ended up going out to one of the Bethel affiliated schools. But we're good. And I actually shared that story on TikTok recently and she DM'd me and she was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I wasn't telling it as like I'm mad at you. Like I'm so good. It's not even funny. Yeah,
but also
like,
that's hysterical and you had to tell it.
I had to tell it. It's such lore. And I think for me, when it comes to my exes, I like being on good terms with my exes, especially if I had genuine love for them and it didn't end bad. So similar to how I end all my stories with "and we're still friends," I like doing that with my exes. But when I say friends, I don't mean I'm DMing them. I'm not texting them. It's fine. It's not like that. So yeah, I think it also just depends on the person. Sorry, I'm going to keep going on a tangent because I just realized something. It also depends on your partner and how they feel. So for you, you're uncomfortable and that's valid and that's a fine boundary. For Brandon, I had a friend, which you know this friend, Ken's, who we had kissed back in high school.
Yeah.
It was never something like I was not in love with this guy. And we were friends before we kissed. We were friends after we kissed. And Brand is totally fine that I'm friends with this guy. And that guy does actually text me sometimes and we've hung out with him and his wife and we're all good. And it's because Brandon's not a jealous person and like he genuinely does not care. And
Weren't you at each other's weddings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, it's because we had been friends since we were 12. So there was nothing in there that was weird. It's so platonic. We used to even call each other brother and sister, like, which is, I don't know, that's weird. Weird. It's all middle school stuff.
Like, no. We did,
maybe I shouldn't have. So it was like we were like friend zoning each other when we were younger. But yeah, it's like I like remaining friends with people, but I'm not up late talking to him and it's not like a relationship that I need, so I think it just depends on who you are, your comfort level, and whatever works for each couple. And it sounds like for you, this does not work for you.
Yeah, because for me, and this was always my issue, and then I swear we will move on from this topic, but we just have a lot to say, I guess. For me, it was always the issue of like when I was thinking about my fiance being best friends with his ex, as they had a romantic connection at some point that did turn platonic, and I trusted that, right? Actually, I don't know that I trusted it then. I trust it now knowing him better, but I don't know what I was thinking then. But I always thought, okay, so if y'all are best friends and you're confiding in each other the way best friends do, and you're sharing life on the depth of a best friendship, and then I come in and then we're supposed to have that emotional intimacy, and how do I know that that line is never going to be crossed again? Like if you were there before and you still have that depth of emotional friendship, like best friendship, and you shared an intimate romantic relationship, that's more difficult for me to understand how you can continue to create those boundaries because best friendship is so intimate as it is. So it's hard to be best friends with someone that you've had a romantic connection with. Being passing friends, Facebook friends, yes, but best friends. And again, people do it and it's totally possible. I just struggled with the idea of that. And so your boyfriend might have great answers for why he's done what he's done and why he's feeling the way he's feeling, but definitely bring it up, definitely talk about it. And the way he responds is the information that you need on how you're going to move forward, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. This one is a bit more serious, okay? So my teacher at my school and youth pastor of the church has been texting me 24/7 and saying he's so sad when I don't show up to school and how I make his day and stuff like that. A few nights ago, he texted me and straight up asked me for nude pics. And he said, I want to know what fantasy you've been playing in your mind when you look at me. And I'm literally sick over it and do not want to finish out the year because it's so awkward. He still keeps staring at me and he truly thinks I'm obsessed with him no matter what I say. Some people advise me not to tell any of my friends from school because it's spreading gossip. Do you think I should tell or just stay quiet until the summer? My mom said I don't have to go back to school next year, but I will have to finish out this year.
Okay. I have some questions because it's really hard for me to imagine. Okay, let's start here. Who are the people that are telling you that talking about it is spreading gossip? Are these adults telling you this? Or have you talked to some friends, like peers, about it and they're telling you that it's gossip and not to spread it? Because this does not fall into the category of gossip. This is absolutely inappropriate behavior, and all of the explicit details must be shared with someone in your life. I am wondering if you've shared this with your mom. I know that your mom knows you're having a hard time and that you don't want to go back to school, but does your mom know the details? Have you shared with her? Because I really truly feel that if you were to share all of the details of what is happening, not only would she be supportive of maybe you not going back to school, but I think she would probably do something and talk to the administration to try to get this person fired from their position so that they no longer work there and are around young people. It doesn't sound to me like, and I could be wrong because I am not your parent and I know not all parents are the same. I just am a parent. And so if my child came to me and said, this is what's happening, I would 100% honor and respect them and protect them and do everything that I needed to do. And it's not sounding like your mom maybe has all of that information. So if you're just saying to your mom, hey, it's a hard year, I feel uncomfortable, I don't really like my teacher, I would encourage you to share everything that is happening and not to feel any sort of guilt whatsoever, like you are spreading gossip. The danger of, it sounds like maybe you go to a private school because it's your teacher at school and your youth pastor. So I'm going to assume, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to assume it's the same unit. Like you go to school where you go to church and it's a private school. And I don't know if it's evangelical, but I will say that growing up in communities like that can be so incredibly dangerous when everything that is negative against anyone ever is considered gossip and you are heralded as the bad person for bringing it forward. Because
Absolutely.
as a child or a young person, that can really blur the lines when you have something extremely serious that you need to share, but you've never been told that it's okay to. And so we are going to tell you right now, as people who have grown up within that system and know exactly what it feels like to have really serious information and not know how to share it because you're afraid you're going to be looked at a certain way or it's going to be turned around on you. You are well within your rights, and we would absolutely encourage you to speak up for yourself. There is no scenario in any world where what is happening is okay, and your mom should know. And I would even say, do not let anyone tell you that you are wrong, even your parents. So if you tell your mom and your mom you're like, no, my mom knows all the details, tell someone else. Tell everyone until you find someone who listens to you, because there will be someone who listens to you. I would even go as far as to say that if you have told all of the adults in your life and no one is listening to you, call the police. Make a report for yourself. You don't have to call the emergency, call the non-emergency line, make a report, say, this is what's happening. I've told every single adult in my family, here's the proof, that here's the relationship, here's the person, and then let them look into it, because you are not wrong and you are protecting yourself. And if no one else is willing to stand up and protect you, then you can do whatever you need to do to stay safe. And I stand 10 toes down when I say that. You can do whatever you need to do. So if that means calling the police, call the police. But it sounds to me like maybe you have not told your mom because you're fearful. And I would say that's the very first step. Tell her the truth. Tell her what's going on. You have not done anything wrong. You've not done anything wrong. You don't deserve this. It's not your fault that it's happening. And you are well within your right to tell people.
Absolutely. I think it's shocking. I talked to Jedediah Hartley recently, and we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about a lot of the abuse that happens in IHOP. And I ended up telling him your story about them praying for your belly. And one thing that he said was, is that shocking? Like, yes, it's horrible, but it's not necessarily shocking because I've heard so many stories like that. He said, it's shocking, but it's not surprising. That's what he said. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like reading this, it's so shocking in that how could a youth pastor and your teacher be texting you such explicit, horrible things? But also, I get DMs about this literally all the time, and it's typically being told to me 10 or 20 years later. So it's hard to hear this and know that it's happening right now. I am glad that you picked up, Kenzie, that you think that maybe her mom doesn't know. When I first read this, I got really mad because I thought her mom did know. But now that I'm rereading it, actually, it might just be that you've said that you don't like your school. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there is a chance that your mom doesn't know. So if your mom doesn't know, you have to tell her, and you should not feel guilty or embarrassed that this man is texting you. If there's any part of you that's like, oh my gosh, this is so awkward and embarrassing, and maybe my mom would be disappointed that I was even texting this guy at all. No. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any normal adult human being would not put blame onto you for
Mm-hmm.
that because you are the minor in this situation. So just wanted to put your mind at rest if you feel like that would be embarrassing or like you did something wrong. You are not the one that would be held accountable in this situation. He is a clear predator. And I loved what you said, Ken's, about just continue to tell people until somebody listens. So when I first read this and I thought that your mom already knew, I was already thinking, we'll go to the administration,
Mm-hmm.
go to somebody who just keep going to people until somebody listens. If the school year is already over, I would still recommend that you make a report because this
Mm-hmm.
man is a predator. So
Mm-hmm.
he's going to continue to do this to other people. And I think it's so sad hearing these stories of people in positions of power preying on young girls because there's so much shame, especially in the evangelical circle, that you feel due to purity culture that maybe the way you're dressing or the way you're acting is the reason why people are coming on to you. So it really keeps people in a shame cycle of, well, like, what did I do that could have caused this? Because purity culture loves to do that with women. And I've had two people on Heel Dish recently who had relationships with, one was she was groomed by her choir teacher who she knew since she was 12, and that he tried to date her when she was 19 and wrote her love notes, and it's just absolutely sickening. And then there was another girl who was groomed by her youth pastor and was
Mm-hmm.
physically abused by her youth pastor. And it's horrible how common this is. And just know that you are not alone in these experiences and that we fully support you. Please, please tell us what you ended up doing. Like, heck, we'll call the police on this guy,
Absolutely. Yeah.
if we really knew your information, just because this is a very serious matter, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. And I loved what you said, Ken's, about how this is not gossip. And I think that
Mm-mm.
the church at times loves to portray it like that. Like, well, we can't talk about domestic violence or hold abusers accountable because it's gossiping and God already
Mm-hmm.
forgave them. No, there's actually something to holding abusers accountable,
Yes.
and this person needs to be fired and
A
removed from the
100%.
church.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to the part about your mom. If you haven't shared, and like Jubilee was saying, you're concerned that your mom might blame you or make you feel weird for texting this person, or you just feel embarrassed about it, or you feel confused about it. Jubilee is correct to say that a normal functioning adult would never place blame. In a courtroom, you would never be held accountable for this happening. However, I don't want to say that we know for sure what your mother's reaction will be, because there are parents who do blame their children when things like this happen. And it's because they don't know how to handle what has happened. And it is because of something that is lacking in them and a lack of emotional maturity. And that does not mean that you are wrong or that it actually is your fault. So if that is the case and you do happen to tell your mom and they do place blame on you, that does not mean that that is correct. It does not mean that you actually should be blamed for what has happened. She probably will not place blame on you, but I just want to say that there are some scenarios where parents do. And I've seen those scenarios occur. And we believe you that this is happening. And there will be someone who believes you, and you go find those people. And if we are those people, send us an email and we will make sure that a report happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Definitely.
that's that.
We love you.
We do. We love you.
Yes. Please keep us updated.
Whew, okay.
How are you feeling, Kenzie?
Good. That's a big one because I think it hits so close to home. I mean, we don't know these people. It's crazy to get submissions like this because you want to reach through the screen and like pull the person out, right? That's on the other side writing it, and like we have no idea who this person is, and so it's just really hard. And we especially because like this is not an isolated experience, and you can only do so much. Like it's so rampant, and I think it makes me freaking angry, to be honest. And it just gives me like that fire under my butt for if you're listening to this and you don't know who we are outside of this podcast, like this is how you know us. Our personal pages on like social media and stuff, and kind of like the work that we do in the world, or like whatever you would say it, not to be super cringy, is about, in one way or another, deconstructing from high control religion and exposing these high control spaces for the harm that they do to people that goes largely unnoticed, and people that are silenced within these systems that are harmed. And so the pushback that happens often in these communities is so strong in the name of Jesus and like under the guise of good faith and following, the Bible and like the authority that's above you and, the religious structure. And it's so infuriating because here we are, and you more so than me, Jubilee, every single day getting messages like this. And it's like, when is someone going to listen? It's no wonder that this person who has written this child, doesn't know how to handle the situation because the system doesn't listen to people like them. The system does not protect people like them. And so we have to forge our own path and trying to find and create this protection for ourselves when children should never be left to their own defenses in the first place to try to even navigate situations like this. And so it just shows, it really just is like pulling the curtain back on the system even more. And it just makes me mad. People just need to start listening when people tell these stories.
Be better people.
Be better.
Please be better. Oh my gosh. That's my one message.
Be better. Do better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, we're going to end the advice on that submission, and we're going to move on to the next portion where we do our little overshare about what's going on in our personal lives. So if you don't know, every episode, at the end of the episode, Jubilee and I will always just like get a little vulnerable and talk about what is happening with us and overshare with you guys so that you get to know a peek into our lives, if you will. Juby, do you want to go first?
Sure. Mine is not heavy, but serious.
Okay.
I don't think I've told you this. Okay.
Oh.
Here's the thing. I am 31, just turned 31. And I have always wanted to get married and have kids. And I would say when I was 25, I was like, I want kids in 5 years. And then I was 26 and I was like, I want kids in 5 years. And now I'm 31 and I'm like, I want kids in 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
I just like don't want them low key now.
Yep.
And I'm feeling stressed because I'm 31. We've talked about kids and we've talked about like the fact that maybe when I'm like 33, I'll go get my eggs checked to see where we're at and try to be proactive about that. I don't know. I feel like for the first time in my life, I feel like I don't even know if I want kids.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say because I always thought I wanted kids. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to have kids. Here's one thing which maybe people won't agree with us, but Bran really wants kids. And I don't not want kids. I feel like what it more so is that I feel like I hate having a time clock. I wish I could just stay young forever and I could have kids 10 years from now. And I'm feeling this pressure of, oh my gosh, now I'm 31 and I really shouldn't put it off until the last moment. And in theory, I want them, but also I really want a career. I really
Mm-hmm.
want to be a busy gal. Okay. I would like
Mm-hmm.
to be doing this and podcasting. I'd like to be an author. And I feel overwhelmed because I already feel overwhelmed now with how
Yeah.
busy I am. I really feel like I'm such a little workaholic that I wake up before my 9 to 5. I make TikTok videos and then I do multiple podcast recordings during the week. And I'm like,
Like, where would that happen?
where would a child fit into that? So we've had these conversations where he is the type of person where he would love to be a stay-at-home dad. He would so thrive. And
Mm-hmm.
I would love to work. So if we ever got to a point where it really just has to do with money, like to me, I feel like my fear of having kids is how it would affect, I don't know, just us being able to survive because this
Yes.
world is so expensive. So I'm like, how are we going to afford the hospital bill? How are we going to do that? So maybe one of the reasons I work so hard is I'm hoping that by the time we have kids, we'll be well off enough to where he could maybe like work part time or he could work from home and then he could be Mr. Mom, because he's just so all about children. And I love kids, but I'm also just I'm so scared of giving birth too. I think
Yeah.
it's like a fear that maybe people don't talk about as much, but I have a genuine fear. Like when I think about it, I want to throw up and
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to be so give me the epidural, I'm not trying to be a hero over here and do it without medication, but there's just a lot of anxiety around the topic for me because I'm getting older and I always thought I would have kids in my early 30s. And when we first started dating, I was like, I think we'll have our first kid around like 32 or 33. And I'm like, what? That's next year. Like, absolutely not,
Yeah.
Um, just watch. I'm going to get like accidentally pregnant and I promise I'll be happy, guys. But,
Next month. Yeah. You're going to be like, so surprise.
surprise, forget everything I said. I love my child. Okay.
And
Yeah.
you would. And you would.
And
It would
I
be great.
would. Yeah, so that's just kind of what I'm feeling at this
Mm.
this point in life. It's a lot.
Why is this making me emotional? I am emotional because I feel everything that you are saying. And I love my kids so much. I would never trade them for the world. And also, it is really hard to work and build a business and chase your dreams and pursue your goals when your priority cannot be yourself in the world. Like, you can prioritize yourself, and I encourage all parents to do that. But I think that it is bullshit when people are like, kids don't make anything harder. Murr, murr, murr. Yes, they do. They do not because they're bad, not because of anything to do with them, but because you're adding human beings into your world that you have to care for and navigate life with. And that's another moving piece. So it makes it more challenging to do anything because you are now on this journey with people on your back. And that's the way, not on your back in a negative way. The way I've always seen it with my girls is I feel like I was walking through life. Like, imagine you're hiking up a mountain and you're by yourself, and then all of a sudden someone hands you two children and you're literally carrying them on your back. And you're like, this is way super fun now. And also I'm huffing and puffing for real, right? And so there's just a labor to same scenario or same analogy. You're swimming and then now you're swimming with two people and you're holding them. Like, there's just a labor and an effort to life that is different when you have children. And we have to be able to talk about that as women without feeling guilt and shame. And that doesn't mean that you don't have kids. And it also doesn't mean that you do have kids. It just is. We need to be able to talk about anxiety when it comes to birth. We need to be able to talk about women who don't even ever want to do that ever and are shamed in a world that says, well, this is what you're made for. We need to talk about the fact that there are women who want to work and go into the workforce and build businesses and lives and have goals and dreams for themselves, and men who want to stay home and care for children. Like, all of these conversations need to be happening without shame, and they don't happen enough. And you're so amazing that you are able to see yourself and really be honest with yourself and with your husband about what it is that you want and that what it is that you're feeling. And I'm really grateful that you have a partner that you're able to change your mind with, because that's not common. And that you're brave enough and strong enough as a woman in this world to be honest out loud about how you're feeling about this topic, because most people are afraid of that. And there's no answer to this. You're going to decide what's best for you. You're going to choose, and you and Brandon are going to make the decision that works for you both. But I'm so fucking proud of you. And whether you do or you don't, you can trust yourself and you're going to make the right choice. But it's just emotional because not enough people talk about the labor of being a parent. And it's just assumed that women are supposed to want this and do it effortlessly and also build all of their businesses and run a home and do all of the things. And it's not that easy. And it's only people who do that, like what you're doing in your life and what you're building. It's only people like you who know, yeah, it doesn't work out that way. Like it says, adding a child to this doesn't just happen effortlessly. I just was talking to Luca the other day. I mean, I'm 32 in August. And we've gone back and forth on the idea of having children. And I had like a little bit of a breakdown. And I was like, listen, if that were to ever happen, you would need to be in a place where you can support us financially. I can't, because I'm not giving up my dreams again. So I would need to be able to quit my 9 to 5. So if we have another child, I would need to be able to quit my 9 to 5 and just be a mother and work on all of the other things that I do, because I won't be able to do all of it. And that's fair. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
fair to
love
feel
that
that way.
you said that, because I think I've had similar conversations with Bran, which I'm glad we're able to talk about it and not be like a shame thing. And even as I'm talking, I'm like, I'm sure there's somebody who will think that this is selfish, but I've talked to him and I've told him, like, I do want kids in the right circumstance. I want
Mm-hmm.
kids if we're well off enough to where we can hire help, or you can be a stay-at-home dad. And I feel like maybe there's this fear in me. Like, I'm maternal in a way, but I also feel like there's a part of me that's such an introvert that
Mm,
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be alone again.
yeah.
And like I I'm like, whoa, I don't know. Like, I've been a nanny before and I love the kids. They're wonderful, but it's also like I'm so ready to hand them back to their parents when they
Mm-hmm.
come back. And I'm like, there's no handing them back. And like, I don't actually feel like I get energy around children really.
Yeah.
And the thing with Brandon is he totally does. He could be with children all day, every day, and he would be living his best life. And that's why I'm so happy in who I chose for a partner, because I'm with somebody who would love the idea of being a stay-at-home dad. And I would love our kids. I don't want to make it, and it's that shame thing where I'm like, I don't want anybody to think that I
Julie,
don't like children.
of course you would love your kids.
Yeah. I know, like, and I know that we would do such, well, I don't want to be like, we'd be great parents, but I do
You
think
would
that,
be
like,
amazing parents.
thanks. I mean, I do think that I would be happy with what we could bring
Mm-hmm.
to raising children. And I do want that. Like, I want to have a little Juby and Brandon running around. Like, I still do want that, but I'm like, I need us to be well off financially. I need us to not be drowning in debt, because I feel like I can barely breathe right now. And someone handing me a child makes
Mm-hmm.
me want to cry. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like all of these things that, and hopefully a lot of people can probably relate to this with how the economy is and how inflation, like, it's hard, and I just keep thinking, how are people doing this? How are people raising children? I mean, I'm already struggling for us to pay our health insurance, and I'm like, what are we going to do,
Yeah.
So, um yeah, I don't know. That's been on my mind a lot this week. So,
It's a lot.
mhm.
That's a lot. And yeah, of course you would love your child. And of course you would be an amazing mom. I love my children and they're my little besties. And also, I am such an introvert that the feeling of, and I split custody with them, so I don't get them half of the month, right? I am also a nanny. And so I spend all of my time with children every single day of my life. All about my hours are spent with children. And I'm exhausted. And I love my job. And I'm exhausted. And I love my kids. And I'm burnt out. And I always want to be alone. Like any second that I get when I'm not with children, I want to be by myself. And that's because I'm outputting so much more than what my body naturally wants to give. And that's okay. Like, we do not have to feel shame. Introverts are parents all of the time, and you are allowed to feel afraid of that. People who are introverts and are already parents or are parents currently and they're burnt out, it is okay to feel that way. And I'm honest with my kids now. They're old enough for me to be like, and I need 30 minutes to just sit here and like be quiet, right? But I didn't always have that privilege because they weren't always 11 and 10 and they didn't always understand. So there's so much beauty and there's so much realness and I like to having kids, and I'm not trying to scare you by anything that I'm saying. I'm just saying what you're feeling is valid and you're allowed to feel all of those things. And if you do have kids, you're going to freaking love it. And it's going to be hard and you're going to love it at the same time. And that's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
Um,
So what's
I love
going on
you.
with you? I love
I don't
you.
know.
What's your little
I don't know.
overshare?
I don't know. I don't know what my overshare is. I've had a really hard week. That's my overshare. I'll just be honest. This week has sucked so bad. I have been, and this is probably because I'm an introvert, and Luca is working on this job at work right now where he leaves at 7 and he doesn't get home until 7. And then I've been gone every night and we've had the kids and they're out for the summer. And so they've been with me at work, and my boss broke her arm. And so she's been home, and it's just been like trying to navigate life with my kids and the little boy that I nanny, and wanting to provide like great summer memories, and also being like, I just want a nap. And then also coming home and not being able to recoup because we've had plans every day. And so I've had to be out of the house. And a lot of them have been good things. I mean, I've seen a friend. I went to dinner with my dad for a late Father's Day dinner. There's been some good things that I've done this week that also take energy, even if it's good energy. And I'm just really tired. And then I haven't seen Luca. Like, we had last night together, thank God. But we're not used to not at least having our like 1 hour at night or 2 hours at night where we get to kind of lay in bed and recoup and talk and like connect again. And so we've just felt like passing ships, and it's brought up some trauma for me and feeling, and I've been aware of it, but it's that feeling of, I know this is irrational because it's been 1 week and we are in love and have an entire life together. However, I feel like, oh my gosh, am I losing my relationship? And that's just like my trauma brain because of everything I've been through in relationships. And that's not the case. But I've just been feeling like, is our life, do you know what I'm saying? Like when you go through something for 1 week and you're like, great, this is my life now. Guess this is how every day is going to be forever. That's how I've been feeling this week, which isn't reality.
But you're like living it. So
yeah, so I'm like, good, great, guess we're here, and like life sucks. And last week I was laughing to myself because last week when I was having a great week, I got in bed with Luca and I was like, I love my life so much and we just have the best life ever. And then this week I'm like, I hate our life and it's just terrible and we never see each other. And he was like, it's been 5 days. So I think it's just been a lot, again, going back to the introvert in me needing so much alone time. And I've just been waking up every morning being like, the candle is burning at both ends and I'm trying to be all things to all people. And I have no room for myself. And I miss my fiance. And that's how I feel.
So valid. That is so valid.
Thanks.
I know.
Thanks.
I'm the queen of like, oh my gosh, I love my life. And then I'm like, why are things so bad? Honestly, and it's always around my cycle too, which I always hated.
Why I am on my period.
There you go. My mom used to always, like, whenever we were in a mood, she'd be like, where are you at on your cycle? And I would be so mad at her.
Bleeding.
Or like, is it coming? And, unfortunately, the majority of the girls in my family, we deal with PMDD and like really bad, really thoughts the week before our period. And thankfully being able to track it a little bit has helped because I'm like,
Definitely.
Okay, I'm feeling like the world is ending because my hormones are crazy right now, but I am strongly affected. So yeah, there will be weeks where I'm like, life is the best it's ever been. And then I'm like, I can't do this forever.
You know what though? There is something to tracking it for sure, because it gives you a little bit of like a leg to stand on and being like, okay, I absolutely feel this way, but this chart says that this is where I am. And so I can rationally know that I'm just feeling this way and this isn't actually how my life is. If I could just tell myself, you are feeling like your life is terrible, but next week you probably won't feel this way. When I wasn't tracking, because I also have PMDD, and when I wasn't tracking, I never knew where I was. Like I was just like floating out in the ethers. And so when my emotions would switch, because they're so strong, those emotions are so strong, I didn't even have the brain energy or capacity to try to figure out like why I was feeling that way. Now I don't even have to try. I can just look at the calendar and be like, this is why, and then just move on and kind of just try to get through it. And it does help me too a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry you've had a hard week.
It's okay. Next week will be better.
Yes, and we're going to the river.
Yes, we're going to the river tomorrow. I can't wait. That'll be good for me. It'll be good. I know you are going to be overcoming a fear, and I'm going to be living in my element. And so that'll be interesting to I'll just hold your hand and
we'll try to take pictures. We have no pictures together, so.
I know. I swear we're friends.
I swear, guys, we've met in real life.
We know each other.
Okay. All right.
I love you. And we love you guys.
Too.
Thanks for everyone who wrote in. Please keep writing in so we can keep doing this podcast.
Yes, please keep writing in. All right. So that is going to be it for this episode of the Overshare Hour. And thank you guys so much for letting us just bare our souls. I feel like we were extra vulnerable this episode.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for just letting us share what is really going on, because I feel like, yes, I do share a lot online, but there's some stuff like this stuff that I don't know. I really need more time to unpack how I feel. So I appreciate you guys listening to our vulnerable moments and just being here for us. And we will keep trying to be here for you. So please keep sending in your submissions and we will keep answering them.
Yeah. And if you would love to consider leaving us a review, that would be amazing. Or just share this episode with a friend or tell someone about it, because it really will help us be able to stay here longer and be with you guys, because we love doing this. Like, this is the joy of my life. And also I get to see my best friends. So like, if you care about our relationship at all, just leave us a review.
Support our relationship.
Support our friendship. Okay. Because we'll never see each other if it's not on this podcast. But no, we really do. We want to hear your guys' stories. And I agree. Like, thank you for what is it about this? Is it because we're like filming in the morning or something? Like there's some vibe, like I'm a little emotional. It's a little deep. Yeah. Thanks for being here for us. And we will be here for you guys. And yeah, we love you.
Yeah. And also keep an eye out, because we are going to be launching a Patreon in July. I'm so excited about that. So we are going to have extra bonus stories. And we'd also like to start doing some Q&A type of stuff. So also feel free to message us and tell us if you have anything you would like to see on the Patreon. Let us know. And you can have some input on what we do going forward.
Yeah. Super excited about launching that. And we love you guys. And we can't wait to see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.